Hello, everyone out there, and a very happy Friday to you. I'm so happy it's Friday. The weekend's coming. I hope that you're in good spirits, and we're trying to get through this situation as best as we can. Um, I know everything is not looking really good right now. We're still climbing up in the numbers with coronavirus. I mean, things are still going up, but as long as we keep the American spirit, the community spirit, and we stay together, keep encouraging each other, keep the glass half full, we'll get through this a lot better than we would otherwise. So I will go ahead and start this out by, oh, I forgot to close this out. Actually, yeah, so I'll just go ahead and start it off by just saying that I'm planning on starting a new mini series, and so far I might change this. It's just a work in progress. It's the first thing that came to mind, but I think I'm going to title it "Traveling in Isolation." So what I'm going to do, I'll pick one, maybe two locations around the world, and I will take a trip using a variety of resources on the internet. And these resources I've already found, I've already researched them. I think I have a pretty good list of things to use throughout the video. And I will use the internet as a tool to travel to these locations. And it could be anything from reading articles to, using imagery to just exploring it the best way that I can. And I'm sure that I'll probably end up using like Google Maps, maybe Google Street View of some degree, or possibly even Google Earth. I haven't downloaded that yet, but that might be one of the better tools to use for that. But just to check out a place that I'm not really familiar with. I mean, there's some places that I've listed. Here's a couple that I can give you right offhand that I added to a list to get started with. Let's see, and this is in no particular order, but I started off with the first one with the Seychelles Islands. And that, if I can get to two locations in one video, it'll be that in Manaus, Brazil. That's Manaus, Manaus, Brazil. And that's a city that's looks like it's almost dead center in the Amazon rainforest. So that would be an interesting place to explore. Also, Mumbai, India. And I haven't paired that one up yet with another city. I think Mumbai, with the size of it, it's an extremely large city. I think that would be enough to cover in one video. I also have a combination with two locations: Baghdad, Iraq, and Reunion Island in it's an island of France, but it's off of the Madagascar coast. So if you're looking on here on the screen, it's somewhere around here, around there, somewhere in this region. Yeah, so it's off the coast of Madagascar. It's absolutely gorgeous there. I'm somewhat familiar of it. And from what I have gathered from it, and I could be wrong about it because I don't think that I really read enough into it to really know, but it's weird. It's like half of the island's very mountainous. So the western half of that island is more arid, so it doesn't get as much rain as the eastern side of the island, which gets a significant amount of rain. There were spots that record over 300 inches of rain a year. So I thought that is crazy. Like one side of the island, it hardly rains, and then the other side, it gets this crazy amount of rain. So I thought that'd be a really cool place to check out. I'm sure there's some incredible pictures that people have taken. I mean, the landscape there, it's gorgeous. I mean, honestly, it kind of reminds me of like Jurassic Park or something. It looks very tropical, so that's another good location to check out. I also have Moscow, Russia, paired up with the Bermuda Islands, which is the island of Bermuda. I mean, I put IS. I didn't mean to say islands, plural. I just meant to say island. But obviously the country of Bermuda, it's the northern point of the Bermuda Triangle. It's way off the coast of North Carolina. And just to give a little spoiler about Bermuda, it's the northernmost location on Earth where you can find coconut trees, and that's kind of cool. But if you follow it across the latitude, it actually is pretty much parallel with North Carolina, which coconut trees don't grow in North Carolina, but the island is off the coast and it's at that latitude. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, so I've got some cities that I've got picked out that I might go into and just explore, just check it out, see what it looks like, see what the ground looks like, see what just some random spots around the city it might look like. Just things like that. Just kind of exploring around to the best of my ability, and then try to discover some interesting facts, maybe fun facts or something like that about these different locations. I didn't write it down. Another one I thought that would be interesting are and I could have this wrong, but I think it's the South Sandwich Islands, and that is down off the coast of South America. It's down near the bottom tip of Argentina in South America, but it's well off the coast. But it's pretty close to Antarctica as well. So I thought those would be that'd be an interesting area to explore as well. So, and let's see, yeah, so it'll be similar to this series format in the way that I'll be navigating using or I'll be navigating through the video using my screen and my voice, because I don't have my stupid webcam yet, which, you know, trying to segue but not quite doing so. But maybe I might have my webcam ordered by next Friday, which is my payday. So hopefully that'll work. I've got high hopes for that because I can't go shopping anywhere. I'm really I'm really dreading going to the grocery store when I do have to go. I've only gone twice since this whole lockdown order had started, which, by the way, it's now day 22. So, and I went grocery shopping for the long haul. So I'm not planning on going back for the month of April. So I'm hoping to stay to that. And with that being said, and I'm sure a lot of people can, or at least people in a similar situation to myself, but when you get paid for the end or the beginning of the month, that's the rent check. That's your rent paycheck, and the bulk of it goes to that. And the middle of the month is just geared toward those smaller bills, like I don't have a car payment, but if you had one, or maybe your car insurance, gas and stuff like that, just those miscellaneous bills that you have to cover, and expenses and things like that, that's reserved for the middle of the month. But I can't go shopping anywhere. I don't shop Amazon very much. I actually don't shop online very much at all. So I do have pretty high hopes that I'll be able to get a webcam. Now, as a matter of it getting here in a timely manner, that's a whole nother thing. I might order it and not get it for a month. So I don't know. I'll just see what happens with that. But let's see. So yeah, I mean, as far as this new miniseries, and I'm just gonna take a crack at it. I think it'll be fun to try out, and at the very least, it'll be a nice brief vacation from this COVID-19 nightmare that we're dealing with. And this might be overshooting it a little, but hopefully I'll be able to put out 3 to 4 videos a week. I might try to keep them down to a half hour per location, but if I feel like keeping the ball rolling, and if I have enough stuff planned, then I might just try to put out maybe an hour's long video and cover 2 locations in the same video. Or I might just cut it down to 1 location per video and just keep it there. That's probably the better thing to do. I mean, I think people would be more interested in that because, you know, for instance, if somebody had an interest in, you know, quote unquote, you know, traveling in isolation, if you will, if they were interested in Reunion Island, which is the French island off the coast of Madagascar, they might be more interested in seeing that, but they might not have any interest in looking at Baghdad, Iraq, because they're obviously very extremely different places. So I might just do that. I may just stick with that. Just 1 video, 1 location, just to keep it simple, and just kind of go from there. So I might try to do that. And just personally, I just think that might be a nice break from all the stress from reading all this stuff, all the doom and gloom, all the bad stuff that keeps happening. It keeps getting worse, but it's equally as important as it is bad. I mean, not to put important with bad, but you know what I mean. Like it's yes, it might be bad, but the more you know about the situation out there, the more informed you are. And I mean, I don't know if you'll feel any better, but at least you'll know more of what's going on. Because maybe some people, they just hate watching the news to the extent that they just don't know about anything that's going on, and they're like, well, hopefully I'll get to go to the store tomorrow. I'll just wait for somebody to call me and tell me, yeah, you get to go now. I mean, if you're that, I mean, I don't like to use this word, but if you are that ignorant, then you really should get a little bit of information from the news, if not from here or from somewhere else on YouTube or somewhere else on the internet. Maybe just set aside 10 minutes a day. Just go to a couple of websites. If we're dealing with the media these days, and if you know somebody who should be more informed but who just doesn't like all the political crap and doesn't like all the mainstream media atmosphere and all that, I mean, you could encourage them to just spend 5 minutes looking up a more liberal leaning site. If you're familiar with that, you can point them in the right direction for like one single news website. And then on the right leaning media sites, just point them to one of those. So they'll spend 5 minutes on one website, 5 minutes on another website, and they can just combine them both together, and they can make their own decision as to what they think is really going on out there. And by that, I don't mean reading articles. I just mean like checking out the headlines, checking out the main page, because you and I both know, I mean, as far as the headlines are concerned, that's the bulk of the information that you really need to know. So now, of course, if it piqued your curiosity, you would want to get in further, and then you might go more than 5 minutes. But everybody should know at least something that's going on a day-to-day basis, or get some news from somewhere. All right, so let's see here. Let me go ahead and move on down here. I'll close this out. I was actually looking at the country of Cameroon. That is a gorgeous country. From what I gathered, I mean, I don't want to start this whole thing at the moment, but their GDP is about $95 billion a year, but they have something to the order of like almost 20 or a little over 25 million people. And when you break that down, that's rough estimate, it's about $3,000 a person. So it is a fairly impoverished country. But when you look at the landscape and you actually check it out and you just look around, it's gorgeous there. It's a really fascinating place. And the reason why I'm running so late with this video was because I was spending like an hour and a half's worth of time using Google Maps to explore it. They don't have much in the way of street view at all. There's only like 2 or 3 roads, at least in the city I looked at. But it was just fascinating. I couldn't stop looking at all the images that they had up there. So it's just something that I really like doing, especially places I'm not that familiar with, which includes Cameroon. I'm not really familiar with that. I am familiar with Africa, obviously, and I'm familiar with a number of their countries, but I don't usually use Google Maps or use Wikipedia as tools to learn more about it. I mean, usually I might just catch a video on YouTube or something like that, if there is one available, which, to be honest with you, I'll probably end up watching some sort of mini documentary or something about Cameroon, some Travel Channel special or whatever. I'm sure I'll find something. But anyway, so I've got some information on here that I will be covering, of course. It's normal. It's normal extended. It's not like over extended or anything. It is Friday night, but I don't plan on running this 2 hours. I'm tired. I got a full night's sleep last night, which I haven't gotten, and I don't think I've gotten that in weeks, to where I haven't woken up at least once. I always wake up at least once, and it's always around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I never get that point to where I can enjoy any amount of time with deep sleep. I'm always hovering around REM, so I always feel like a zombie all day long. And I don't know, I can't find, I don't know why. It's probably my diet. I'm sure it's something that I'm eating, because I don't really pay attention to what I eat. I don't know. I have a very high metabolism, so I don't, I'm one of those people that like doesn't care as much as they should care about what they eat. So I'm sure there's something factored in there as to why I just randomly wake up at least once a night, and it ruins my sleep pattern, ruins my sleep schedule. But last night I slept all the way through, and I thought when I woke up, I was dazed. I was in a deep sleep when my alarm went off. I was in the middle of this intense dream. Now, I know I wasn't in a deep sleep, because when you dream, you're only in REM sleep, so you're not far from waking up if you're dreaming, but still, that alarm going off, it was going full blast. Like, it had been ringing for about a minute by the time that I woke up and realized what was going on. It just really jostled me. But anyway, all right, so I don't even know why I'm bringing that up. Whatever, you don't care about that. Okay, so anyway, let's see. So, all right, this morning I watched Tucker Carlson's episode that he aired last night. And if you caught it last night, or if you caught it on YouTube this morning, you might be able to catch the first segment still, because I think they leave that up for a little bit. But as far as watching Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity or probably any other mainstream news networks primetime show on YouTube, if you watch it there, you're only going to be able to watch it for maybe up to like 24 hours, maybe, because YouTube starts to take down all those videos for copyright infringement and all that stuff, because they're just YouTubers that put it up. But anyway, when I do my morning yoga, I usually watch Tucker Carlson, or I listen to him rather. And this segment that he aired, he said that because he usually does a monologue similar to Sean Hannity, not the same, it's very different, but it's still kind of like a monologue when he starts a show. before he gets into interviews. Well, he scrapped the entire monologue at the last minute because he gave an interview with somebody, and they were pre-taping it, so they were going to show it somewhere during the show, but it was so important, and they decided to scrap the whole monologue thing and just throw this interview right into the front of the show. And this first interview last night, it was regarding Florida and its purchasing of 3M masks about a month ago. They purchased, X amount of millions of these masks from 3M a month ago. And the person who was talking, he was, I can't remember exactly who he was. He was like a political figure. Hold on. No, I didn't put it down there. He's like the emergency management director for the state of Florida. It's something like that, if not that. It's very close to that. I mean, he's in charge of like emergency management of some degree for the state of Florida. So basically, he's the one who's been put in charge of ordering masks and gowns and face shields and all that stuff. So last month, he made a purchase to 3M for a large amount of money, or a large amount of masks as well, and still no masks to this day. It's been a month, and they say, well, we don't have them ready for you yet. And they argued back and forth, and he pressed him a lot. And he got to the conclusion that instead of giving the masks to Florida, where they were intended for at the time, at least the order that he purchased, 3M is taking these masks and the ones that were made for Florida, as well as other regions, states, or what have you, across the country. They're taking those masks and they're selling them to other countries for the highest bidder, and they are paying cash. They're actually paying cash money because obviously cash talks. So you get like the director for emergency management in Florida who's saying, "Hey, we'll pay, like what number do you need? Like, we'll buy 10 million masks and we'll pay let's make it like $25 million or something like that." That's probably a crazy low number. I mean, like, we'll pay $100 million for it. And they're like, okay, all right. And because he's getting this, and I'm sure he signed something and faxes it. I don't know how it works, like the bureaucratic system, but apparently money talks, hard currency, because 3M, it's not the company 3M, it's the distributors that handle the distribution of 3M masks. So 3M itself, they're not the ones who distribute their masks. They're only the ones that produce it. Once they produce it, they have these long-term, long-standing people, companies, contractors, whoever they are. They're the ones who distribute the masks out for 3M. So once 3M gives it to them, they are supposed to handle it, as far as like where it goes, who's already paid for it. They get their shipment if they've already paid for it. Well, these distributors, whoever they are, they weren't doing that because Florida had purchased multi-millions of dollars worth of masks, and they were on the books for doing that. Okay, they secured their order, and we had been waiting a month for these masks, and they're still not here. And it turns out that whoever this guy talked to on the phone, who was like a representative of 3M, this guy said that, well, these contractors we're dealing with, they're the ones you really have to talk to, but word down the grapevine is saying that these contractors are actually taking these masks and they're selling them essentially to the highest bidder, to other countries. There's other countries that are approaching them. And I mean, the only way I could describe it is with like suitcases of cash or something, because apparently the ones who are paying cash are the ones who are walking away with the orders. So pretty messed up. And I will get into what President Trump said about that, because he actually got into that, and I will get into that here in a minute as far as the face masks go. It's down here near the bottom somewhere. I don't want to get mixed up, but yeah, President Trump in today's press briefing, actually, he didn't mention Tucker. He didn't mention the person that Tucker talked to specifically, but he did sign or he signed an amendment to whatever that act is that gives him the ability to essentially force companies to produce goods for the United States. He actually made an amendment to the act or an executive order or whatever it was. I'll get into it. So anyway, so that happened. That was pretty crazy. So if you missed that, you got to watch that. That interview will freak you out. Like, honestly, the first thing I thought of when I saw that interview, the instant reaction that I had was, oh my God, the US dollar is worthless, because they're not giving 3M American currency. They're giving them French currency, or they're giving them, British pounds, or Canada's giving them their currency. Like, they're only selling to them because they don't trust the US dollar, because we're all going unemployed. Our economy is going to go in the tank because nobody's working, and this is like the first domino that falls, and the line of dominoes that falls represents the American economy. And it looks like that this might be the first telling, um, the real telling tale that the U.S. dollar is literally crashing into the ground right now. And the first sign of that is that 3M is selling masks to foreign countries for cash because they trust their currency markets better than they trust America's currency market. I could be wrong about that, but that was the first thought that I came across my mind. So I don't know. You really should watch it. You should really watch Tucker's first interview if you can find it still on YouTube. Sean Hannity, usually his first monologue is up there for a couple of days. So hopefully Tucker's first segment will be up there for a couple of days. And if you're interested, or if you haven't seen it yet, definitely watch it, and that might freak you out. And if you didn't think about the whole, like, other countries using their own currency, just keep that in mind when you watch that, and you might understand what I'm trying to communicate here. Like, it really freaked me out. Okay, so anyway, let's go to the next little tidbit of information I have here. Okay, so this is not COVID related news, but it kind of is, but not directly to the coronavirus, but it's related, as far as the president's speech yesterday, where he spent half the time talking about this whole drug initiative that they are doing in the Caribbean and in the Eastern Pacific. So I'm going to mention a couple of things about that. So last night, or early this morning, a Venezuelan Navy ship sunk after it hit a cruise liner on purpose. It actually fired shots at the cruise liner before it eventually collided with it multiple times. And the way that the captain described it was that they were colliding with the cruise liner in an attempt to turn the cruise liner toward the Venezuelan port, where they were going to force it to dock at port, pretty much hinting that Venezuela is trying to seize this ship, like they're trying to take it over. So my first thought was maybe it does have to do with coronavirus. Maybe Venezuela's got some outbreak, and maybe they want to use this vessel as like a hospital or something. Maybe they're just trying to steal it just to try to, get sick people in there or something. I don't know. That was my first thought, but they didn't go into any of those details. That was just a personal opinion. But anyway, so that's going on. Possible seizure. Oil prices are crashing around the world. I think everybody knows that by now, because especially with Russia and Saudi Arabia, they're fighting like crazy over oil prices and stuff. The United States is a net exporter of oil, so we do have skin in the game, but we use most of ours in country. So I mean, yes, our markets are taking a nasty hit, and if you live in the right place in the country, you are getting gas at less than $1 a gallon. We haven't seen ours budge at all. I'm still paying like $1.75 a gallon. I think it's pretty crazy because up in, last I checked, there's parts in Wisconsin, and then there's a couple of parts in northern Kentucky by the Indiana around Evansville border, or the city of Evansville in the bottom of Indiana. There's a few sections around there where they're paying like 85 cents a gallon. It's crazy. So you might be in one of those lucky spots where you're seeing gas prices as low as they were in like the 1970s, the 1980s or something. Just crazy cheap. But when you think about Venezuela, their only valuable export is oil. That's the only valuable export they have. So with their economy being practically worthless right now because they're in the middle of a dictatorship, you want to see what socialism really looks like. Look at Venezuela. I mean, that's a perfect example of socialism out of control. That's pretty much what they're dealing with. So this whole thing with the cruise ship and their Navy ship trying to hijack this cruise ship, and they're firing at it and everything. I mean, it seems like a form of desperation just to try to get something into their port to maybe use for, I don't know what. I don't know if they're going to strip it clean and sell the stuff out of it. I don't know if they're going to, try to commandeer the ship somehow. I don't know if they're going to use it as a hospital. Who knows? But the one thing we do know is that there's an oil war going on right now, and it is crashing the oil market, completely crashing it. I mean, the last I checked, a barrel of oil was worth like $24 for a barrel of oil. I mean, if you know the oil markets, that is unbelievably cheap. And the reason why it's so cheap is because everybody's on lockdown. It's not just the US. We're just one of them. And we're not the ones that are influencing that global market at all because we use our own oil. And you get Russia and you have Saudi Arabia fighting over this whole oil situation that the world is in. And the reason why they're fighting is because they both, I guess they both refuse to quit pumping oil. They keep pumping it, I guess. I mean, that's my take from it. But there's so much oil above the ground in the form of gas that's sitting in all of these reserves. It's overfull. I think virtually every oil tanker on Earth is completely filled with oil right now. And there's nowhere to take it because all of their reserves, everything that's onshore, all these giant tanks around all these refineries, they're already full. They're completely full because we all stopped driving. Everybody in the United States quit. Everybody in France did, and Italy, and Great Britain, and Germany, and Spain, and just keep going down the list. I mean, 177 countries are affected by coronavirus. Literally, the entire world is affected by this. And I would say probably most of the world has some form of a stay-at-home order. I already said, it directly affects my workplace when India started hitting the country with lockdowns. So India has over 1 billion people, and they're shutting down that country piece by piece. So when the whole world shuts down like that, nobody goes anywhere, which means gas doesn't get used, which means gas is going to get insanely cheap, and that's what's happening. But as far as Venezuela, with gas being the only lifeblood in their economy, their worthless economy, I mean, that's the only thing that this illegitimate President Maduro, this corrupt douchebag, that's all he's got. He's got oil. That's all he has. And now oil is worthless. So what's going to happen now? Oh, yesterday, President Trump said that we're going to start sending in naval vessels. Okay. He discussed on Wednesday in detail. Oh, no. Okay. So this, no, it wasn't. No, it actually was on Wednesday because I don't think I watched the press briefing yesterday. Yeah, that's right. Because I went to the store. So yeah, that was on Wednesday. I apologize. This announcement was on Wednesday. So he discussed in detail that the Navy, the Coast Guard, and other agencies are doubling presence in the Caribbean and in the Eastern Pacific to combat drug runners and drug smugglers. But Venezuela was the only country that was named during that press briefing. Not one other country was mentioned, not even Colombia. There were no other countries that were mentioned during his press briefing, only Venezuela. And what we did, we've sent naval destroyers, destroyers to combat what? Drug runners? I mean, that sounds like overkill to me. I mean, I don't think that drug runners have destroyers. And also 15 cutters from the Coast Guard, and I'm sure a ton of other vessels. We doubled our presence in the area. So it looks to me that we might be having a military conflict with Venezuela very soon. And maybe the United States is seeing this oil shortage, this oil crash, as a perfect opportunity to seize our chance to get rid of Maduro and reinstate what's his name. He has a much harder name to pronounce. I can't remember who he is. I know who he is, but I just can't remember his name offhand. But Maduro is the dude we want to get rid of. And actually, he has... Did I put that on here? No, I didn't. Or I thought I did. Yeah, I did. Here it is. This Maduro dude, like the illegitimate president of Venezuela, he's got a $15 million price on his head. Let's see. And he's been charged by the U.S. Department of Justice with narco terrorism. So yeah, so I could see why we would be talking about the whole drug thing because he's being charged with narco terrorism. He's been like formally indicted or something, and he's got a $15 million price on his head. So I think that makes it very obvious as to why we doubled our military presence in the region. I think that they're going to go after Maduro. That's just my personal opinion. I think that any day now, Trump is just going to get up in front of the podium and say, we got a lot of coronavirus stuff going on, but let me first say that we captured the illegitimate president of Venezuela, Maduro, and we were able to capture him. He's in prison right now. Either that or maybe Trump's going to go the other way, like with what's his name, Soleimani, when he was talking about him dying like a dog and, like he left his children away, like he ran away like a coward, like the big coward that he is. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people in Venezuela would like to see Maduro stand trial, I think. But I mean, if they don't think that way, if they just want them gone and dead, then maybe the U.S. might take a different direction into the handling of what's probably about to happen if it's not happening right now in Venezuela. So anyway, I thought that was important to say. And the source that I got this paragraph from, I'm not going to read all this, but I got it from the LA Times. The $15 million price on his head was what I was concerned with, or just really worried about reading. That's the source for the article if you want the information. I just want to be transparent there. All right, so let's see here. All right, let me just make sure. Okay, so the cruise liner that they hit with their Navy vessel that sank. I can't believe they did that. They hit this cruise liner several times to try to turn it around, and they ended up sinking the very ship that they were using to hit this cruise liner with. I mean, come on, dude. Your naval vessels are sinking, and the cruise liners, they said they suffered minor damage. Minor. Not major, but minor. But this cruise liner it's I guess the hull is reinforced. I don't know how many times over. I know it's been reinforced for the ability to navigate icy waters. So, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that, just an average ship that hits it, it's not going to affect that cruise ship very much. So, yeah, the cruise ship is fine. It's of German origin. That's the best that I found online. I believe that it is. In whichever news article that I saw that from, I mean, I believed it to be legitimate to the best of its ability. But so anyway, the Venezuelan economy is hyperinflated. So the average wage in Venezuela, which I don't remember what exactly their currency is called. It's not called the dollar. It's called something else. But let me just substitute that for a dollar. Its average wage is $40,000 a month for the average employee. Like if you just averaged it out, just took the mean, the average, it's 40 grand a month. That's how much the average person gets paid there. Sounds like a lot, but if you want to buy a hot dog from a street vendor in Venezuela, it's going to cost you $15,000 for one hot dog. So there you go. That's what runaway inflation looks like. That's what runaway socialism looks like. And that, I think, is why Venezuela is about to be involved with the nightmare that they're about to be involved with, and that nightmare would be the United States. So if Maduro just steps down, I mean, I think the Venezuelan people would just be like, yeah, come on in, come on in. I mean, I'm sure that if we go in there, we remove Maduro and we remove his henchmen and his stupid posse and all that crap, I'm sure Venezuela is going to be very happy, and they are going to be so ready to get back to the way things used to be, because back when I was in high school, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, Venezuela was the richest country in South America. I mean, I always thought Venezuela was like an awesome place to go to, because Venezuela, I mean, they're like massively rich in oil. I mean, they've got tons of oil. It's like one of the largest oil reserves on earth. Like, I'm sure they can compete with Saudi Arabia, and we know how rich that country is. I mean, like, look at the UAE. I mean, I'm sure that's all oil money that's been pumped into those glorious cities in the UAE that look like they're straight out of the future. It's crazy. Just built right up out of a sandbox. It's insane. So anyway, let me go ahead and scroll down here and try to get out of these notes and then just get on to the point. All right, so let's see here. Last week on 3/26 on the New York Times had reported Venezuelan leader Maduro is charged in the United States with drug trafficking. Okay, I think I covered that already. That's the source for that, New York Times. You can pause it now, copy it. Okay, we're good. All right, so let's see. I believe this is just my own personal notes that I kind of just wrote down. Oh, wait, no. Well, this first one, I said that Trump must have watched Tucker last night, because he just did this. And then I kind of went into what he actually talked about. He said that he just invoked the Defense Production Act to prohibit the exportation of scarce health equipment inside the United States, which includes respirators, surgical masks, gloves, and other personal protective equipment. And it also prohibits scrupulous actors and profiteers from getting their hands on this stuff. And the Director of Homeland Security will be working with FEMA to prevent the exportation of these goods. I assume Canada is not very happy with this. Because yesterday, not today, I mean, yesterday, that was before he mentioned all this. I'm just assuming that right now Canada's not happy about it um, because uh, Prime Minister, he's Prime Minister, right? Trudeau, Justin Trudeau. He apparently was like irritated by hearing that the United States might stop the exportation of like face masks and stuff like that, because apparently Canada's relying on a lot of that. Um, and he was sort of threatening to close off Canada from the United States for all goods, any and all goods, if we cut off Canada from receiving face masks and stuff. So I'm sure that the president means well. I'm sure that Canada will get what they need, regardless of what's going on. But what the president's really doing, he's trying to get these assholes that are selling masks for 3M. He's trying to get those assholes out of the way. Okay. I mean, we need to bury those douchebags under the jail. Okay. These greedy peons. So I'm sure everything's going to work out okay when it comes to foreign countries, but they're not going to come first. And with these people that are coming with suitcases of cash trying to buy these masks for certain countries, it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen now. First, it has to go through the U.S. government, or it might even have to go up through the White House or the executive branch to get clearance to send this stuff off to other countries. So I'm sure the president or maybe Vice President Pence, since he's heading up the coronavirus task force, somebody is going to be made aware of, like, hey, 3M just made 3.5 million masks. They're planning on sending it off to France. Do we got the green light? Okay, all right, we got the green light. Send it off to France. I mean, but without that in place, then you get these idiots, not idiots, but you get these evil douchebags who are contracted with 3M that instead of giving them to individual states in the country that already paid for these masks, and they haven't received the money yet, instead they're like, well, we already made all this stuff for Florida, but you're going to give me cash right now? Like cash? Yeah, cash. There's like 15 suitcases full of cash right there. Oh, well, hell, here you go. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll just take the cash now. That can't happen anymore because he made this happen. So he invoked the Defense Production Act to prohibit the exportation of scarce health equipment. And I'm sure it'd be pending approval. I'm sure some of this stuff is going to get out. I'm sure it's going to work, but we can't have those evil actors that are trying to be bloodsuckers and try to greedily steal in more ways than one our masks and our precious equipment that we need. All right, so that's it for that. So I can minimize that thing. So I haven't changed the background. I'm sorry. I know. I think that might be one of the longest standing backgrounds at this point. Every time I start doing this, I plan on changing it before I start the video, but I don't do it. So I think as soon as I think about it, I'm just going to do it. In fact, I guess I could just do it now, right? I mean, why not? Well, I got you here. I mean, this is how these are the wallpapers I have to choose from. So I don't know. That one I've known about this one for years. This is one of my all-time favorites. Some guy in Germany, I believe, made that back in like 2009, 2010. There's actually several different angles for that one. That's a gorgeous one. This was on my desktop. I spent hours staring at this thing, and I always thought like it'd be so cool just to like live in an apartment like down here somewhere where it's like clearly nighttime, and I'm living like somewhere on this street, on this building that's illuminated by the street lights, and at the same time the sun is still out. Like it's the sun is still shining. I mean, there's parts of the city where it's still sunny, but because these buildings are so ridiculously enormous, this part that's in the shadow of these buildings, it's literally nighttime down there. Like I'm sure if they looked up at the sky, they might see twilight. They might still see the blue sky. But I don't know, that just always fascinates me to look at this. Just all the different, I don't know, just different angles and all that. Not different angles, but the different points of view if you look at different parts of the city. But anyway, let me just keep going. There's that one, clearly. Not ready for that one. No, it's too Star Wars like. I think I already used that one. I think yeah, I used that one too. This one's similar to this one in a way. Oh, it's already there. It's kind of similar to the one that I used for my Google background. It's just more of like a painter's perspective. Maybe. That one's cool. I like that one. I don't know why. I'm not a fan of global warming, by the way. I'm just saying it looks steampunk. I like steampunk. Um, hmm. Interesting. Interesting. There's one of those views that I was talking about. No, I'm not ready for that one. I like that one though, but not ready for that. No. No. Maybe. I already used that one. I think I already used that one. That one's cool. I'm waiting on that. You know what? I'll do this one. Why not? I'll go with this one. That way you don't see all of them. All right. So I think I revealed too much already. I should have just stuck with one I was talking about. Should have just stuck with that. All right. So that's all done. Boom. There we go. It's like a city inside a building. Pretty crazy with stained glass. I like it. It's pretty neat. So anyway, let me go ahead and get to the point here. I know you don't care about my stupid, like wannabe futuristic, area, cities, whatnot, backgrounds. I don't know. I've always loved them. Some really good artists out there. Okay, so let's see here. Let's start with the map. The Johns Hopkins map. I'm not trying to sound upbeat at all, by the way, because I already know what we're in for here. It always changes my mood when I see this. I mean, this kind of sobers me up when I see this. 1,097,909. I thought we're close enough to 1.1 million. And these are official tests. These aren't people who, this doesn't include every single person out there, because clearly if you haven't gotten a test, then they don't know you would be positive if you are in fact positive. So you're not contributing to that number. 181 countries. It actually jumped up by a couple more. I think 179 was the last one that I had. It's up to 181, so it's catching up to the rest of the world. And I assume that the ones that are left, I mean, when it went from 179 to 181, it was one of these like little bitty red dots that you might see out in the middle of the ocean somewhere. I'm sure well, that's Hawaii, but like maybe one of those two spots or something like that. Greenland, I don't know how Greenland got it, but that's been there for a while. That blew my mind like 2 weeks ago. But anyway, you know what I mean. So the dots haven't really increased much. I mean, I know that the numbers have increased substantially. 120,000 in Italy. That's a lot. France, 64. France is like dead, locked down. Like nobody's going anywhere in France. It's crazy. If you have a chance to look at pictures in France, in Paris, like I don't know, go to Google Images or something, type in Paris, France, COVID-19 or something. It looks nuts, like how empty these cities look. Same with Rome. The same with I saw some from Venice, like how crystal clear the water is. I shared that in one of my videos. What? Gibraltar is a part of the United Kingdom. Wow, you learn something new every day, huh? I didn't know that was a country. That's a country? Oh my God. Gibraltar is a country? And that's a UK country? You got to be kidding me. I've heard of Gibraltar before, but I didn't know that it was a UK owned area, and it is like the size of my high school. That's crazy. Like what? Like literally half of the country is a nature preserve? What the hell? That's crazy. Okay, well, that might be something to cover in the series that I'm planning for. Gibraltar, I got to remember that. Wow, that's crazy. Well, that's clearly one of the smallest countries ever. I know the Vatican's the smallest, I think. Pretty sure it's the smallest, like square mile wise. I think it might be 1 square mile. But anyway, 59,000 deaths, that's not good. I mean, Italy is up to almost 15,000 deaths. I mean, that's wartime deaths. I mean, that's bad. Really, really bad. Really bad numbers. Especially in relation to the amount of people who are infected in Italy, which is again 120,000. I mean, here, let me just show the number here real quick. I just want to know what the percentage is. 60, 81 divided by 827. I'm just trying to get a decimal percentage. So 12%. They're at a 12% fatality rating, or a fatality number when it comes to coronavirus. So 12% of the people who were infected in Italy that they know of has passed away. So that's sobering. That really is. I mean, that's scary. It's not good. I know Spain, they really screwed up because they were holding those feminist rights rallies like back in it was somewhere around mid-February, where hundreds of thousands of people were cheering on women's rights and everything, which, okay, yeah, women's rights, it's a good thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a good cause. But when there's a virus that's sweeping the planet, probably not the best time to gather 100,000 people together. So now they're dealing with this nightmare, and I think they're blaming those events on the reason why that they're so heavily infected right now. Let me take a look at New York City because I heard it jumped up pretty quickly. Let me just zoom in because there's a lot of these dots around. 57,000 people in New York. 57,000. Now, how many people live in New York? I think it's, 8 million? I think maybe 9 million metro live there. So if you go, 57, 159 divided by, I'm just going to go conservative and go 8 million. So it's still less than 1%. So the number looks scary. There's a lot of people infected, but if you want to put that into any perspective, if you have to go to the store, I don't even know if it's possible in New York City to do this, but if you have to go to a grocery store, for instance, you're out of food, you got to go. And if you go there, you have almost a 1 in 100 person chance of walking past somebody who has it. So, I mean, it's 0.007. So I would even go up and say maybe like 1 in 100 and, I don't know, 1 in 120 people. It might be a little, well, yeah, it's a little lower. It might be like 1 out of every 115 people that you walk past in New York City today, statistically, all right, strictly statistically. Most of these people are either in the hospital or they're quarantined. I mean, these are just the official numbers. So chances are that they're either isolated or they are in the hospital. So you're not going to walk past somebody like that. I'm just thinking about the fact that there's a lot of people who have it and they're not sick enough to go to the hospital. But these people who are sick from it, they still have to eat. And if they live alone, they're going to go out to the store to get food. And I'm just saying that, based on the numbers here, based on what we do know, you kind of have a 1 out of 115 people's chance of bumping into somebody who might end up having it. So I would just, is it worth it? I mean, whenever you go to the store, the grocery store is one of the only places that are open right now. So if you go there, it's always going to be crowded because nothing else is open. People who want to go out because they're bored, they got cabin fever, they want to go and just buy stuff, go shopping, they're going to go there because they don't have anywhere else to go. So, I mean, with that being said, with it being crowded like that, I would assume in New York City, the average grocery store is going to have over 100 people in there right now. Maybe they're restricting social distancing. I've heard they've been doing that with other stores, that especially with gas stations and convenience stores, that they're only allowing like 10 people in at a time or 8 people in at a time because they want to keep that 6-foot distance maximum. So everybody else has to wait outside in a 6 feet like space in between people line. So I don't know how New York City's treating the grocery stores because I don't live in New York City and I haven't seen anything about that. But what I do know, and when I went to the grocery store yesterday, I noticed this. They're not enforcing you in the aisles. I mean, I still walked closer than 6 feet past people because I had to, because it was fairly crowded. But once you get to the lines, they have these red dots. And I went to Winn-Dixie, so it's, the color of Winn-Dixie is red and black. So they had these red dots on the ground, and on the dot it said like stay 6 feet away from the other dot, like stand here. So when you were in line, they had like a bunch of dots that were leading up to each cash register. So I found the first open dot that I got to, and then I just waited in line and went dot to dot to dot, and then I ended up at the register. So they are practicing that, and the same goes with the gas station I went to the other day. Same thing, except they had masking tape. They put masking tape down on the ground, like 6 feet apart. And I think in this gas station they actually used Sharpie, or they used a magic marker or something, and they wrote it actually on the terrazzo floor, and it said like stand here, and then I went to the next one and said stand here. So they were a little more crude with it, but still, it works. So they're practicing it here in Pinellas County, where I'm living, at least in the places I went to, which are generally in the Largo area. The Winn-Dixie I went to is in Seminole, but the gas station I went to is in Largo because it's close to where I work. But anyway, so let me go ahead and close this thing out. I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't checked my comments list in a couple of days, so hopefully nobody sent me like hey, check where I live kind of thing. But if you do live somewhere in the United States, and if you're not, maybe if you're not internet savvy, or maybe you don't have a computer, or maybe you just don't have just the capability of being able to access this information, but you do have the ability to send me a YouTube comment. Like I don't know. Like if you're not familiar with navigating this, and if you just don't want to take the time to find out, but you do have the ability to use YouTube and watch this video, leave down in the comment section, just say, hey, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Can you click on Phoenix during your next video for the map? And I'll know right away. Just word it any way you want. I mean, I've got a lot of common sense. I'll figure it out. But anyway, if you live in like Albuquerque, like I live in Albuquerque, looks like you've got 202 people right now, and this thing is kept up pretty regularly. They update it like every 15 some odd minutes. I mean, look, if I refresh it now, it might even change. I don't think it will, but it might. 1097909. No, still the same. But that I saw that change. So anyway, even if it's anywhere around the world, if you live like in Australia, or if you live somewhere in Africa, or if you just wherever you might live, if you just want to know. I mean, for all I know, you could be watching this on YouTube, which could be available to the entire world, but you live in like Argentina or something, and for some reason in your area of Argentina, you can't get YouTube. I know that's not true. I'm sure everybody in Argentina can use it, but I'm just using that as an example. Like, hey, I live in Argentina. How many people do we have that are infected? You've got 1,353 people. 42 people have passed away, unfortunately, but 266 have recovered. So you've got a really good recovery rate. I mean, in the United States, I mean, we're past the point of checking the whole U.S. because they've got it all parsed out now. But I will say that in New York, the most infected place, I don't think they have any recoveries yet. Yeah, see, it still is 0. So anyway, you get what I mean. Wherever you live in the world, just put it down in the comments if you want me to click on one of these locations, and I'll check it out for you. Let's see here. Let me go to the next item. Dow Jones Index. I'm only going to spend like 5 seconds on this. 21,052. They fell by 360 points, 1.69%. I mean, there's a lot of good things that are coming up. There's a lot of good stuff, like a lot of things that might relieve the issue, like the passage of this and the approval of that and stuff like that. But I think ultimately, I said this a few videos ago, I would be surprised if a month from now that we would be anywhere close to 20,000. I think we're ultimately going to fall down to like 10,000. I really do. It's a means to an end. If we're not working, that thing is going to be falling. So, all right. So let's go to my first news article through foxnews.com. Half of people with coronavirus have no symptoms, data shows. That sounds pretty positive, right? That sounds good. I mean, especially if you're younger, or if you have the right blood type, which they kind of hint could be O. That's what I have. I have O blood. Okay, so anyway, about half of people who have the coronavirus show no symptoms, according to data from Iceland, the Italian town of Vo, and the Diamond Princess cruise ship. The data from those places is of particular interest to researchers because in those places, even people without symptoms were tested, which is not the case in the United States and most countries, where desperately needed tests are reserved mostly for people who show symptoms. Experts say the discovery has critical implications and shows that even more widespread testing may be needed to identify all carriers. The CDC is also expected to recommend face coverings in virus hotspots soon because that may help prevent spread from people who show no symptoms. And here's some of the data. Okay, so this is the cruise ship information. At 3,711 passengers on the Diamond Princess who were tested, 712 were tested positive, and of those, 331, which is 46%, had never shown outward symptoms. according to Japan's health agency, which has also been cited by the CDC. So 331 out of 712 didn't show any symptoms, 46%, and they were tested positive. So I thought that was pretty crazy. All right, so anyway, many cases are apparently asymptomatic. This is both good and bad news because it means the virus lethality may be lower than initially thought, but also that people can unknowingly spread the virus. Patrick T. Dolan, a virologist at University of California, San Francisco, told Fox News. Now we're going into Vo, Italy, or Vo. In the small northern Italian town of Vo, where Italy's first coronavirus death occurred, the entire population of 3,000 people were tested. We tested all residents of Vo, including those who did not have any symptoms, two Italian researchers wrote in The Guardian. The researchers were surprised to find that a significant proportion of the population, about 3%, had already been infected, yet most of them were completely asymptomatic. This allowed us to quarantine people before they showed signs of infection and stop the further spread of coronavirus, the researchers noted. Health experts reached by Fox News all said that asymptomatic carriers are a major issue. The situation calls for a better national policy of widespread testing to isolate cases, said Ali S. Khan, the dean of the College of Public Health at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. The U.S. got a late start in testing, but is rapidly becoming a world leader in it after many regulations were waived in mid-March. Finally. In Iceland, more than 6% of the entire country has been tested, by far the largest proportion in the world. Nearly half of those tests have been done as part of a screening program in which anyone who asks for a test can even get one, even if they have mild or no symptoms. Of the 5,502 samples taken in the screening program between March 13th through 19th, 50 tested positive for SARS or COVID-2. 66% of those individuals reported symptoms such as coughing and body ache. This person at the Icelandic Directorate of Health told Fox News, adding that the other third had no symptoms. Non-symptomatic people can spread the disease, but we know that the virus is much more likely to spread from person to person if the infected one is showing symptoms, Nielsen said. Excuse me. Sorry, I forgot to mention that Iceland was there. So when I started with, in Iceland, more than 6% of the entire country has been tested. I forgot to mention that we're moving on to Iceland, and we were already past Italy, but my apologies. I think that you might get that because it is displayed here for you, but if by any chance you set the phone down beside you and you're not actually watching what I'm showing you on the screen, if you're listening instead, then yeah, my apologies. All right, let's move on to the next one. It really sucks to follow bad news. I'm telling you, man. It really does. That's why I want to start this travel thing. I think it'd be a lot more fun to do. I would rather travel and see the great things that the earth has to offer as opposed to just the worst things that are going on right now. I mean, it does, man. It's kind of depressing. It's just nothing but bad news. I mean, sometimes there's good news that comes out, which I think leads me to my next one here. This, I think, is some pretty good news. The University of Pittsburgh. Scientists believe they have found a potential coronavirus vaccine. Scientists at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine believe they found a potential vaccine for the new coronavirus. The researchers announced their findings Thursday and believe the vaccine could be rolled out quickly enough to significantly impact the spread of the disease, according to their study published in eBiomedicine. The vaccine would be delivered on a fingertip-sized patch. When tested on mice, the vaccine produced enough antibodies believed to successfully counteract the virus. The scientists say they were able to act fast because they had already done the research on the similar coronaviruses, SARS and MERS. These two viruses, which are closely related to SARS-CoV-2, teach us that a particular protein called a spike protein is important for inducing immunity against the virus, read a statement from the co-senior author Andrea Gambado, MD, Associate Professor of Surgery at the Pitt School of Medicine. We knew exactly where to fight this new virus. The vaccine follows the traditional approach of ordinary flu vaccines, using lab-made pieces of viral protein to build immunity. While the mice have not been studied over a long period of time, the vaccine was able to deliver enough antibodies against the coronavirus within 2 weeks, according to the researchers. The study's authors are now applying for an investigational new drug approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. They hope to start human clinical trials within the next few months. Researchers said they sided with using a patch rather than a traditional needle to deliver the spike protein to the skin, which elicits the strongest immune reaction. The patch contains 400 tiny microneedles made of sugar and protein pieces. It would be applied like a band-aid with the needles dissolving into the skin. The vaccine would be highly scalable for widespread use, the researcher said in a news release. For most vaccines, you don't need to address scalability to begin with, Gamboa said. But when you try to develop a vaccine quickly against a pandemic, that's the first requirement. And oh my God, wouldn't that be awesome if they actually came up with this? Something you could put on your skin like a band-aid. When was the last time you had a vaccine that worked that way? I haven't. I either got a shot or I got something stuffed up my nose like the flu shot. Or the H1N1 vaccine from, I'm sure everybody remembers, like 2009. Which is kind of funny because I don't think most people realize this. When seasonal flu shots started coming around, it was after the 2009 pandemic with H1N1, the one that originated in Mexico. H1N1, it started there, the swine flu, swine flu. But when they came up with the vaccine, they, I think I took it through my nose. I don't think they gave me a shot. I think it was like it was like some sort of like a nasal inhalant type of situation. But once they rolled that out and everybody was getting swine flu vaccines or whatever, it seems like every year after that, they started giving out the flu vaccine. So I don't know if whatever they developed for H1N1 just worked for, I don't know, like 20% of all the flus out there. I don't know how it works, but I know that the flu vaccine is not a guarantee you're not going to get it. You're just taking something that they think that you're not going to get, which kind of makes me wonder if you're not sure about that, because every flu vaccine every year is different. Why don't you just pack them all into one super dose, and that way we won't get anything at all? I don't understand that, because they're like, well, this year we're expecting we're expecting FLU number 3, number 7, number 8 to be the most highly contagious ones. So we're going to give the vaccine in form of those. Well, why the hell don't you just give us the vaccines 1 through 25? Every single flu vaccine that you have out there on the market, I'm just making up numbers, by the way, but why don't you just give us everything as opposed to just giving us the ones that you think? I bet you it's about money. It's probably about money. Because, you got like if you were to contract the flu and if you got the flu shot, there might be like a 40% chance or a 60% chance. I don't know the numbers, but you don't have a guarantee. I do know that. You can still get the flu if you have a flu shot, because the only flu that you're protecting yourself from is whatever flu comes up for the season. So maybe that's why. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it works. I'm not even going to speculate because I don't want to confuse you, but I think I have a good idea as to what they're doing with that, but I'm not going to get into the weeds on that one. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. Okay, yeah, I labeled that one twice. There's 2 separate articles there. But anyway, the next virus hotspots are going to be seen as Michigan, Connecticut, and Indiana. At least possibly. And this is a short one. Yeah, this is short. The rate of positive coronavirus tests suggests that the next hotspots could include Michigan, Connecticut, Indiana, Georgia, and Illinois, said White House Virus Task Force Coordinator Deborah Birx. We do have 2 states that have 35% positives, and that's New York and New Jersey. So that confirms very clearly that that's a very clear and an important hot zone, Birx told reporters at a White House briefing on Thursday evening. Oh my gosh, good grief. I think I'm getting the hiccups. Okay, sorry. Birx told reporters at a White House briefing on Thursday evening. Let's see. Louisiana's positive test rate is 26%. Michigan, Connecticut, Indiana, Georgia, Illinois, that should tell you where the next hotspots are coming, are at 15% test positive, she added. And then Colorado, D.C., Rhode Island, and Massachusetts are now at 13%. So what she's saying is that if there's 100 people in, let's say, Massachusetts, because this is the last state, she's saying that in the state of Massachusetts, they're 13% of the tests are positive. So that means that if there's 100 people that are going to get a coronavirus shot, or a test for the coronavirus, 13%. So let's say 13 people go there out of 100. Those 13 could test positive. So let me reword it another way. So if you go in to get a test to see if you're positive for coronavirus, and you're around 100 people in total, there's 100 of you that go in to get the test, and you're in Massachusetts. That means that 13 out of those 100 people that you're with are going to test positive. Okay, so I mean, I don't know. What is that? 87 of those are not going to be positive. So that's a good sign, right? Because all those people are sick. I mean, all 100 people are sick who are going up there to get the test. Now, cutting back to, let's say, Indiana. I lived in Indiana for a while. So in Indiana, 15% are testing positive. So if there's 100 people that go in to get a coronavirus test, 15 of them are going to walk out with the news that they got it. The other 85% said, congratulations, you don't have it, but you're still sick with something. I mean, you probably have the flu, or you probably have this rhinovirus, or you have something, this, that, and the other. You might have strep throat. You might have whatever it is that you get that makes you sick like that. But, but 15 out of that 100 was tested with coronavirus. So still pretty low numbers, people, okay? Out of all those people who are very sick, because the United States has made it very clear, you're not going to get a test unless you are clearly sick, okay? You can't just go up and get a free test because you're just afraid you have it. It's not there yet. It will get there. It will. And the last article that I read to you, the one where it said that up to 50% could be asymptomatic and still have full-blown coronavirus. We need to get to a point where we have to test everybody to get a full picture. Because if that's true, if up to 50% of our population, of our infected population with coronavirus, if they're not symptomatic, that's really dangerous. Now, it's dangerous in the way that people like to touch their mouth and then touch their hands to other objects. I mean, I think that's completely disgusting, but people do that. I mean, that's where it's really dangerous. Now, when it comes to somebody who is infected with coronavirus and they're showing symptoms, that means that they're coughing. They're coughing, they're sneezing, they've got a runny nose, and all of those little particles that somebody sneezes out or somebody coughs out, it's going to hang in the air, and that's what's going to infect other people. The people who are asymptomatic, they're not coughing. They don't have a runny nose. They feel completely fine. They don't even know they have it. For all I know, I have it. I have no idea. But hopefully we'll get to a point where we can test everybody, so then we'll be able to really get rid of this thing. But for now, there's 330 million people, probably more than that by now, that live in the United States. So that's a lot of tests. And that's one test, one person. So, I mean, you could get a test like the president. He's already had like 3 tests. The president has. I'm pretty sure it's 3 by now. But he had a test done yesterday, and it came back negative. He got one of those 15-minute ones. The ones where if you're positive, it comes back in 5 minutes. If you're negative, it comes back in 15 minutes. It was the video that I did covering the Rose Garden press conference. I didn't cover that, but I talked about it. But he had that device that he took out of the box, and he showed everybody, like, this is the device that we're going to use for the 5-minute test. Anyway, all right, so let me go to the next article here. Oh, I closed it out. My bad. Get to enjoy this beautiful background. Okay. Let's see. Number 6. Window serenades and drive-by concerts. How people are staying connected despite coronavirus. Why did I pick this one? I didn't pick this one. Worldwide. No, it's just a video. Never mind. I don't know why that's even on my selection. Maybe I just accidentally did that. All right. Anyway. Let's move on to number 7. I don't know what that's all about, but if you're interested, you could go back and pause and then look up the link up here in this search bar. Dr. Fauci's face will soon be on a bobblehead. Rightfully so, man. Dr. Fauci, he is going to be, the revered hero of the coronavirus epidemic once we get all this done, once we get the vaccine out, once everybody puts this behind them. Dr. Fauci he's a titan when it comes to fighting coronavirus right now. And if you don't know him, he's the short guy. He's got a raspy voice. He wears glasses. That's his picture. It's his picture here that they got on there. So he's the one who's kind of he's like the lead scientist when it comes to combating this thing. And Dr. Deborah, what's her name? Fawkes. I know, or she has an X in her last name. I know that, but she is partnered up with him in combating this. She was an ambassador, but she was brought into this team under Mike Pence to combat this whole situation. But anyway, the United States top infectious disease specialist is getting his own bobblehead. A creation from the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum in Milwaukee features Dr. Anthony Fauci wearing a suit as he makes a motion showing how the nation needs to, quote, flatten the curve in the coronavirus pandemic. The museum in Milwaukee picked Fauci because many people see the plain-speaking expert on the coronavirus as a hero right now, said co-founder and CEO Phil Sklar. Let's see. I thought there was some more. He isn't trying to spin things, he said. He isn't trying to make people happy and tell them what they want to hear. He's actually telling them, how he sees it as an expert. And I think that's really what we need him in this time. Fauci said on Fox and Friends Friday, "That's nice if people want to do it, but I have other things to worry about." Fauci's face also appears on socks, and a Rochester, New York shop is selling donuts with his face surrounded by white frosting and topped off with red, white, and blue sprinkles. We saw that in the video. Sklar said that the Bobblehead Museum plans to donate $5 from every $25 Fauci bobblehead that is sold to the American Hospital Association in support of that group's effort to get masks and other personal protective equipment for healthcare workers. Let's see. Told Friday that the bobblehead would help support the American Hospital Association's effort, Fauci said that was great. Fauci, who is the director for the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. I'll just leave it there. I just wanted to give you his title once more. Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is the guy who's heading up this whole thing. Mike Pence, Vice President Pence, he's heading up everything. Fauci reports to him, but Fauci is like the leading medical expert when it comes to coronavirus right now in the United States. And he is the director for the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. So I was kind of pissed when I saw this, $5 for every $25. Shouldn't they? No, don't donate the whole $25 because, you have to, account for production. You got to pay for the materials and pay for the labor and all that stuff. But you're going to still profit off this? I hope that their profit from one bobblehead is $5, but that doesn't sound industrially sound at all. That doesn't sound very it doesn't sound very smart. It sounds like if you're going to make a bobblehead, it probably costs 50 cents to make the bobblehead and you sell it for like $20. But I don't know. I just don't want to see anybody profiting off of this pandemic at all. And this kind of looks like a situation like that. I don't know. I would love to get that bobblehead, but I would also really like to see a bigger number than $5. If it's at $20, then yeah, there you go. Amen. I'll buy it. But anyway, if you have the means to do so, I don't make nearly enough money to be able to just throw out $25. I wish I could, but I can't. There's no way. There's no way. Somebody, actually, to tell you a brief story, the car that I drive, it's a 1999 vehicle. It's very small. It's a two-door. It's not a hatchback, but it's a really small car. It's a stick shift. And, I left my windows down one night, and I live in a nice neighborhood. Just right down the street, there's houses that are $500,000 and up. It's not to brag at all. I'm telling you, like the house that I will tell you this. My rent for this house is $1,200 a month. Okay. But I share the rent with my mom 50-50. Okay. So we're like equal split on this house. Okay. So if I lived by myself, I'd pay $620 or $625. That's how much I would pay for my own individual rent. In an equal scenario if I lived on my own. So that's pretty cheap. So we combined, live in the same house. I've got my daughter. She's got her granddaughter here for half the time. Why not? I got divorced my ex divorced me a few years ago because I think it's because I didn't make as much money because she's way more financially successful than I am. But anyway, that's for a whole nother dramatic. I hate trauma, so I'm never going to get into that. That's just freaking stupid. But the point that I was getting to was that oh hell, what was what was I getting to? Anyway, like where I live right now, crap. Where was I? I was with bobbleheads and like there's houses down the street that, oh my god, I cannot believe I trailed off too far. I'm sorry, folks. I don't know what I was talking about. Um, oh yeah, okay, so I was talking about my car. Um, why did I mention my car? No. Damn it. So my car, it's a small car. I mean, I know it had to do with me not making very much money. Oh, I think that's pretty much where it all circled around. I mean, like the car that I drive, it's a cheap car. It's worth like $800. The house that we live in, it is a nice house. I mean, it's not nice. I mean, it's $1,200 a month nice. Okay, so and it's on a fairly busy street. But there are sectors of our local area that I could technically walk to in 15 minutes where there's really nice houses. I mean, like this isn't a stretch of any imagination of people who live in a big city. I mean, like back when I lived in Indianapolis, there was a time that I lived in a house where our rent for a 3-bedroom house was $700 a month. Okay, that is cheap, and it was also in a fairly ghetto area. But if I walked 10 minutes to the east, I would start to see $400,000 houses. You know what I mean? So, there are parts of cities where really nice houses can exist pretty close to really poor neighborhoods. But I don't know. I think that was the point I was making. I hope that was what I was trying to think of. I'm sorry. I had a moment of brain fart, but I'm almost done here. I think we're on the last one here. I'm ready to be done. I think, I was watching or I was looking up information on Cameroon and in Africa, and and um and then it got me thinking about Sierra Leone because that country was in the movie Blood Diamond. If you ever saw Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio and what's her face? I can't remember her name, but whatever. I don't care. I don't. She was in. Oh man. Crap. I thought it was right there just for a split second. Oh, what is her name? Like Connolly? Connolly? Is that what it is? That's gonna drive me nuts. I gotta look this up real quick. Um, it was Requiem for a Dream. All right, so I don't even have to look it up. But what's her name that was in Blood Diamond? The lady, whatever her name is, like she had a thing for Leonardo DiCaprio. She was in Requiem for a Dream. That if you haven't seen that before, that movie's insane. I think Jared Leto was the main character of it. Insane. Wicked, really wicked. If you've never had a history of drug use before, or if you were never put on medication before that you were without any knowledge of its addictiveness, that you got addicted to it or anything like that. Like if you have any history with dependency of anything, watch that movie because that you'll understand. Well, actually, better yet, if you don't have any history of that, if you watch that movie, then you'll understand how crazy things can really get. Requiem for a Dream. It came out in like 1999. Crazy movie. One of the Wayans brothers. It wasn't Damon Wayans. I think it was Marlon Wayans. Marlon Wayans was in that movie as well. Good movie. Anyway, getting way off topic here. I'm sorry. It's Friday. I'm just trying to stay positive here. So let's see here. A model predicts that the virus impact peaks in Florida in 1 month. I really don't have to get into this because if you look at one of the last videos I did, I think it was the one before the last one, where I showed all of the information from the University of Washington, or it was a university in Washington, whatever they are. They're keeping up all these models that the CDC is parroting, and what they're talking about is the state of Florida, and I actually showed that in my video of like what Florida looks like. So it looks like that like the United States as a whole is supposed to peak in like 2 or 3 weeks from now. I think it's about 2 weeks from now, but Florida is going to peak about a month from now. So different regions of the country are going to peak at different times, and that was really what I was trying to communicate with this. I mean, I guess I might as well read it, but if we've learned one thing so far during the coronavirus crisis, it's that most scientists really do know what they're talking about. They use models, inputting data like the number of known cases and deaths over time where the virus has already struck, to estimate when the nation or any state may see a wave of sick people headed to hospitals. The go-to guru for projecting COVID-19's impact has been the staff of the University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation. That's what I was talking about. So I was right, University of Washington. Its death projections for the United States have so far been spot on. Oh, okay, I got a little more. The model does not predict the state will run out of all hospital beds, but if hospitals fill up in South Florida, a 250-bed field hospital has been erected in Tamiami Park. So that's already there. So that's good. As of Friday, the state shows about 5,800 beds available in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Monroe counties. That means 40% of capacity is available, but 65% of the state's ICU beds are already taken. So they keep jumping us through positives and negative nets. It's like, okay, well, this one's positive. Oh, okay, well, you gave us bad news. Okay, well, here's some more good news. Oh, crap, there's some more bad news. But, I mean, frankly, because there's so many people that have not been tested because they're not showing symptoms, I don't think they know what the hell they're talking about. But, I mean, who knows? And I mean, if you... Okay, so I know Tamiami Park is in South Florida, clearly, but I'm not... I know where Tamiami Trail is, but, well, that's Tamiami Trail Road. That's down in Sarasota. That's not over here. I think they're talking about, like, Miami-Dade, maybe West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, somewhere around there. Hollywood, Florida, but not really quite sure there. I don't know where Tamiami Park is, but I'm sure it's in the Miami area. It's got to be in the Miami, or maybe in the Broward area, or yeah, like West Palm Beach or something like that. You know, somewhere around like the bottom, you know, like the area of Southeast Florida is concerned. Let me just check here. Aha, see, that's kind of tricky, right? So now you think I live in Miami because it instantly popped up right here, right? Like Miami, Hialeah. But no, I have a VPN up because I use, what is it, private internet access. And I have it set for my server for Florida because I like to stay anonymous on the internet, especially when I found out that freaking Alexa and what is it, like Siri and all those other stupid, like robot stupid things that you would just ask them random questions. Turns out they're listening to you all the time. And I think in one of my last videos, I talked about how you can get rid of that crap. But yeah, so I use a VPN, so, you know, it's harder to track me online. But let's see, Tamiami. I'd like to hear an outsider here, or an outside, like somebody who doesn't live in Florida. They're like, Miami? Miami? Is that how you say it? Where is that? Where the hell is it? Yeah, Miami. It's Miami. No, it's Tamiami. All right, Tamiami. Pretty easy. There you go. That's Tamiami Park. That's where that makeshift hospital is right now. So if you live in the Miami area, or if you live, yeah, obviously Miami area, or if you're in like the vicinity of this area here, like if you might live in Kendall, actually, I actually work for that hospital for Kendall. I also work for University Hospital, if you're familiar with Miami. Trying to think of other hospitals around. Aventura. I work for Aventura Hospital. So, you know, I can keep going on and on, but there's a number of hospitals in the Miami area that I service personally, like for the company that I work for. So I have to be familiar with this area just because, you know, I service that hospital network. So yeah, so they got a field hospital there, 250 beds in this little park here. That's got to look wicked. It'd be interesting to see that, like driving by this road here every day, like going down Coral Way, driving by the park and seeing like this massive like 250 bed hospital like up in the middle of the park. It's got to be crazy. So if you weren't familiar with that, if you live somewhere in the vicinity, go out there and take a drive, check it out tomorrow. I mean, clearly the roads are supposed to be fairly void of traffic because there's nowhere to go unless you're going to the grocery store. So, I mean, if I lived nearby, I'd certainly drive by there. That'd be crazy to see this giant 250 bed military style hospital built up like that. That'd be crazy. So, anyway, that's basically all I got, folks. That's really all I got. I'm just playing around right now. I do plan on bringing up that video. Or putting together that video rather, the one that I plan on covering first. The first two places I'm going to hope to cover is it's probably the Seychelles Island and Manaus, Brazil. That'd be pretty cool. I guess if you're interested in what I'm talking about, let me go ahead and hold on. Yeah, there we go. Manaus, Brazil. I'm not going to give out too much information. There's something really amazing that happens in this natural geological feature here, geographical feature, or whatever you want to call it. It's not geological because it's not dealing with, rocks and, plate tectonics and stuff like that. But there's something really interesting. So I mean, I'm sure if you're okay, so if you know this area well enough, which I mean, I don't know, in the very middle of Brazil here in Manaus. You might not know this, but there's something very strange that happens when the Rio Negro and the Amazon River come into contact with each other. There's something very special, and it's mind-blowing, and you can actually see it happening, but it happens every hour of every day all year long, and it is so cool to watch. And I'm going to be showing that in my first video when I cover Manaus. And just by saying that, now I have to cover Manaus. So I will cover this place first, and if I have enough time, I'll cover the Seychelles Islands, which is located over here on the other side of Africa. There it is, Seychelles. It's off the coast of Africa. And there's a few islands, so it's the Seychelles Islands. And it's a British territory. Absolutely gorgeous there. Here, let me pull up the satellite. Gorgeous beaches, just really cool, very pretty. Fairly mountainous, I think. I mean, probably not full. Yeah, it looks mountainous enough. I think it is. Looks like it's got a couple of peaks here. But yeah, absolutely freaking gorgeous. Like, beautiful. Victoria is an amazing looking place. It's really pretty. So this would be a really cool place to explore in my exploration video when it comes to my isolation, which would be traveling in isolation if I stick to that title. But yeah, that's the Seychelles, and that is off the coast of Africa in the Indian Ocean. It's over by Mombasa, Kenya. It's off the coast there. So if you're in Mombasa by any chance, and if you look, I mean, not straight ahead, because if you look straight ahead, it's going to go that way. But if you look like maybe 20 degrees to the left when you're facing the ocean, you'll be looking straight at Seychelles. And then you get other British Indian Ocean territory, and that's kind of strange. That thing's got to be tiny. British Indian Ocean territory. I mean, does anybody even live there? Point Mary. No, I bet nobody lives here. It's just an atoll. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? Oh, there's a freaking airport. See what I mean? This is crazy. I love just browsing the earth and just seeing whatever you come up with. I mean, clearly it looks like there's a settlement there. There's a baseball diamond. Tennis courts. Peacekeeper Inn. Looks like some trailers or something around here. Some buildings. Oh, Diego Garcia Officers Club. So this is probably the British Royal Navy or some military base or something that Great Britain's got, because they got the airport here. But still, I mean, could you imagine landing in that airport? Look at that water. That's freaking gorgeous. I mean, it literally looks like that. I mean, this is a photograph. I mean, could you imagine like coming in for a landing? Actually, can I move this? I can move this, can't I? Oh, now I'm right back where I was. Dude, coming in for a landing like that, just looking at all that bright ocean color around you. Man, that'd be amazing. Then you get off the plane and then you like head down the road and you've got like just gorgeousness, like paradise all around you. Like, holy crap. I mean, this, and then that's what I love about these atolls is that they have, it's like this giant island that goes, it looks like a ringworm kind of. It's like this just random like ring. And in the middle, it's all covered with water. And then around the outside, it's all ocean. And what's funny is you see these clouds develop, which these clouds are totally developing from evaporation from the ground. So like from the ground, there's moisture that's evaporating up into the air, which is creating these clouds. And that's why you see clouds there, but you don't see them anywhere else. Well, I mean, I guess with this is just like, generic imagery of the ocean floor, but still, pretty cool stuff. There's a couple of ships down there too. It's kind of interesting. Wonder what kind of ships those are. Can't really. Oh man, you can really get close. Oh, there's a helicopter pad. That might be a military ship. Maybe. Looks like a helicopter pad, don't it? There's another one over here. Oh, it's probably like a tanker, right? Wouldn't that be what those are? Maybe tankers, because there's a crane there on the end. I don't know. Maybe lifting this little guy off the ground. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just bullshitting. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, that does look like a tanker. That's clearly a tanker. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know what they got going on here, but that's British owned. I mean, whatever. East Plantation. What are they growing stuff there? East Point. Yeah, they are. Look at that. See the pattern? They're actually growing shit. National Highway. Nation of what? Dude, is that a house? What are they talking about? A highway? There's no highway there. It's just trees. Unless it's probably some like super narrow dirt road that only a Jeep Wrangler can barely squeeze through. Maybe that's what's going on. But look at that, man. That's like probably beach that nobody's walked on in probably years. Who knows? Unless somebody really does live in there. Looks like they do. Dude, talk about that view. Look at that. Wouldn't that be cool? Man, oh man. I just love exploring, especially using Google. I mean, this is kind of a taste of what I'd be doing, but not as time wasting. I mean, I'll go with a plan when I do this stuff, but yeah, check that out. Like, look, the waves break here, and you can see the size of the trees. Like, those are like palm trees there. See how far away that is? So when the waves break here, when it's deep like that, and I'm sure from the point from here where it's probably like 10 feet deep to the point where it's like here, that's probably like 4, 5, 600 feet deep. You could tell it gets deep quick. But check this out, man. This is crazy. So this is one of those beaches where you can walk for like hundreds and hundreds of feet off here and you're just starting to hit the waves. Because once the waves break and they start to trickle in, it's just very slow and gradual. You can tell because you can see how the sand is eroding back. You see these lines here. So like once these tiny waves just trickle up to the edge and then they start to fall back, you can just tell that these waves, like it very occasionally, they'll actually make their way up far enough, which I'm sure this is always saturated, but I don't. Anyway, I've spent too many years near the beach. Maybe you wouldn't understand, exactly what I mean, but if you're standing there on that beach and you're seeing the waves break there, that is a hell of a long way to the water. And this might be like 3 feet deep here, or maybe 4 or 5 feet deep or something. I guess that would probably be more reasonable. Yeah, by looking at this here, that looks way different from here. So clearly the tide was up. Clearly the tide was up when that was taken. But, or maybe that's just a more detailed picture. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry, folks. I'm just wasting your time. But, yeah, so cool stuff. There you go. Back on the planet. And I am not focused properly. There we go. Now everything's right with the world. Unless you want to tip it upside down. Maybe when the aliens come here to visit, maybe their world was tilted this way. So when they come to the Earth, they're going to be like, hey, all your maps are upside down. Did you know that? Because, when they're coming in, they're flying in, and they're seeing the Earth spinning like this. You know what I'm saying? They might come in inverted. And they might be like, dude, your maps are upside down. I mean, we mapped up your world hundreds of years ago when we first discovered it. I mean, we've got everything nailed down. You got your maps upside down. No, actually, it's supposed to look like that. It's supposed to look like this. But you never know. Those aliens, they might be like, no. No, that's how it's supposed to be. That's it. That's the North Pole. The North Pole is up here. That's it. Your South Pole is way down here. Dude, that's so weird. There's so much land in the North. It's crazy how much more land there is in the North. Because North Pole is like right here, right? Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, all of this land is like right next to the North Pole. It really is remarkable. Like Canada, and I mean, we already, obviously, this is like clear. I mean, but I'm just saying, when you flip it upside down, you just realize like how empty. Like, if you're pretending this is the North Pole now, you could just see how empty it is. Just all water. Which, now you might understand, like, oh, that's why there's so much, that's why there's miles and miles of ice on Antarctica right now. That's why it's such a frozen wasteland, because it's surrounded by nothing but water. Like, there's nothing else there. There's nothing there to stop the air currents and the ocean currents. I mean, the best thing they got is Argentina here, which I hear is the roughest waters on Earth, by the way. Like this area here, between this tip of the peninsula of Antarctica and Argentina, apparently the water flowing through here is like the most treacherous water on Earth. That's what I've heard. Like the winds there's a weird jet stream that goes around the perimeter of Antarctica, and it never stops. It's been doing it for millions of years. This like fast jet stream that's always trapping Antarctica in its own, sub-zero climate. But when you're trying to navigate before the Panama Canal was constructed, right here, and when, back in the day, this might make you a little dizzy, but back in the day, instead of like navigating from like New York and then coming down, going through here and taking the fast way up to LA, before they had to go from there, go all the way down, all the way around South America, all the way down to the tip. Clouds are in the way. By the way, these clouds are in real time. All the way down, around here, around the horn, and then all the way back up. I mean, that took months to do that. It took forever to get up to LA before we got the Panama Canal. That's why we dug the Panama Canal. But yeah, if you didn't know that about this feature with Google, all these clouds are actually there right now. Like that's literally what the Earth looks like right now if you were in space. Like the way the clouds are and everything. Now, if you really want to know what it looks like with the relative viewing of the sun and everything, you go back one. There you go. So clearly in Florida, it's full on nighttime because it's 10:30 right now. So that's where sunset is. So if you're in LA, looks like you're on sunset, like the sun's setting in LA right now. Clearly in, wherever Hawaii is, somewhere around here somewhere. Clearly still daytime. But yeah, I mean, this is interesting, and they show the city lights. It's kind of cool. I like this. It's a cool view. So I might feature this a little bit in my travel videos. Maybe I'll start them like this. I'll be like, all right, so where in the world are we going to go right now? Well, let's see. Let's start it off this way. Is it daytime or is it nighttime right now? So then we'll dive in with the daytime or nighttime perspective, and then we'll just go from there. I'm not going to plan on keeping it nighttime, because once you zoom in one click ahead, then, change it. But anyway, it's cool stuff. I don't know. It's fun. I like messing around with this stuff. Google, I mean, I don't like what Google stands for these days, because they're very authoritarian and they're very, anti-conservative, which I absolutely hate about them. But they do have some pretty cool stuff, especially when it comes to science, astronomy, and, geology, geography, and all that. It's pretty cool. But anyway, I'll just cut it there. I know I'm just wasting time. If you're still watching now, I really apologize, but I've been off coronavirus for a while. But hopefully you'll stay safe out there. Hopefully everything is okay. Hopefully, we'll get back to normal as soon as possible. If there's anything you want me to mention, just throw it down in the comments. Or if there's something you want me to look up, or if there's a region you want me to click on the Johns Hopkins map, anything like that, just whatever it is, just leave me a comment below. and it might not. It might, admittedly speaking, it might take a day or two, maybe a few days before I see it, but I'm still trying to get used to getting into the habit of things. But I mean, if people were commenting on all of my videos up to now, because this is video number 21, I mean, it would be a clear habit by now. But most of my videos are only getting a few views, so I'm just, kind of loosely checking the comments, if you will. But anyway, I hope you did enjoy the video, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much, and stay safe out there.